when you have a family doing things together in the outdoors, you're creating lifelong memories that nobody can take away. I honestly believe that if you want it, it's there, and just go and get it. And the biggest limiting factor for why people don't is fear. When you put yourself in situations that you cannot control, or that that could go out of control, those are when you find out who you are. When I can, look out my front door and there's some of the most beautiful mountains in the world, I just know I'm in the right place.
Hello everybody, this is Brandon with Wilderness Attitude. Thanks for tuning in. We are here at the Sheep Show in Reno, Nevada, 2018, and I have an amazing pleasure to be in the Wilderness Athlete booth, and on top of that, an even more epic moment for me is to actually get to meet Greg McHale. He's of Yukon Wild. I'm sure some of you are familiar with him and what he does. I mean, he is a straight-up badass, and even me and my wife think that he might be alien because of some of the stuff that he does. And if you've been to the Sheep Show, then you're definitely familiar with him because of the backpack race that he's been involved in here for a few years, because he hands down wins the sucker, although he had someone on his tail this year.
Yeah, it was definitely a race this year.
Thanks for being on Wilderness Attitude. I appreciate it, Greg.
Thank you, Brandon.
It's a pleasure having you.
Thanks.
So, I got to know you through Wilderness Athlete, through Kevin. We discussed about trying to reach out to some of the ambassadors of WA and getting to know a little bit more of their story and get it out in the podcast world. And I couldn't have been more stoked to have that conversation with Kevin and for it to be coming to fruition.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. And I've looked back through some of your stuff, and you got a cool history of growing up hunting and doing different things. But I'd really like to hear you tell some of that story, where you're born, and what got you into the wilderness, maybe some idols growing up. I mean, I'm just going to let you roll with it.
Yeah, okay. I think probably like so many of, your listeners out there, that's, we were introduced as children, by our parents. And my dad was obviously the driving force for me and my mom too. Like we completely kind of middle class family. And, when we didn't have, we didn't go on great big trips anywhere, but when we went on family vacations, it was always to the bush. So that's where it all started. And, hunting with my father growing up, and, it's just been part of our life.
Right.
And, yeah, he's been, a huge driving force as far as, everything in my life. And not just him, but like I said, my mother too. It's just I'm very happy and very pleased to have and be fortunate to have the family behind me that I have had. Right. And, when you have a family doing things together in the outdoors, you're creating lifelong memories that nobody can take away.
I agree. So, do you recall your first hunt as a kid, and maybe even your first kill?
My first real hunt as
define real.
Yeah, no, sorry, like where I actually harvested something.
Yeah, okay.
So that's my definition of real. There's a lot of days spent out on a cornfield or in the side of a field. But growing up in Ontario, southern Ontario in farm country, it's whitetail hunting and duck and goose hunting.
Right.
And my first hunt where I actually harvested something I was probably, guessing 14-ish, and my dad got me into bow hunting, and we would go out and we were shooting at the big round hay bales in the backyard, and
right.
And so I ended up this that first year not getting anything, and just spending lots of time and seeing deer long ways away. And
typically the case, right?
Yeah.
Your first few years, I think. Some get lucky.
Yeah. So then it wasn't until the next year, then I was about 15, and I ended up harvesting this just button buck. and it was, took him with the bow at about, 25 yards. And actually it was, one of those ones where it's late at just getting dusk, and we, had to let him sit, and my dad and I went out and tracked it the next morning and found him. So, I mean, that's kind of where it all started for me as far as big game anyways.
Man, now look at where you're going, right? It's crazy the stuff you've accomplished in your life in the hunting aspect. But let's rewind back to, you have that first kill, and was that it? Were you hooked on that? Was that the gig? I mean, or did you end up maybe going into sports and getting out of hunting and then coming back, or was there?
Well, it was always, sports were always kind of, the focus, and hunting was the hobby. And the funny thing is about, athletics and myself is, I've done a number of, different sports, and I think that I've done fairly well. But the one constant thing that has always remained is I used to climb mountains. I used to, mountaineer. I used to, vertical ice and, pretty high level climbing stuff, and then adventure racing and all of these, and hockey and all of these things that have been part of my life. The one constant throughout it all has been hunting. Has always been there.
Always been there.
It
was the foundation, wasn't it? Even though it was a hobby.
Right. And my wife would disagree that it's been a hobby to a certain degree, but because when my wife and I are racing professionally, multisport and adventure racing, we, it was always a big thing when the World Championships was during hunting season.
Right.
I was like, well, we have to figure this. We have to figure this out, because I mean, there's no way I'm going to miss sheep season. Right. Like I'm not going to miss August 1st. Or, it's not going to happen. So
right.
we have to figure this out somehow. So yeah, it definitely has not necessarily been a hobby for a long time, even though it wasn't. I wasn't into it as much as I am now.
Did you ever see a crossover between hunting and your sports and the disciplines and how they overlapped and played into each other?
Certainly, I would say the impact that adventure racing has had on my hunting is more than the other way. Only because the sport is just pushes you in directions and in so many ways that
right.
that everyday life, or even in a lot of ways, some of the hardest hunts just can't. And I think that what does that is the competition part of it.
Right.
Where when you're competing, you're just pushing, and when you're out hunting, it's you're not necessarily competing, right? So
right.
So that element.
I don't know. I think you're competing. I mean, I think you're competing against the wilderness. You're competing against yourself mentally. You're competing against yourself physically. You're competing against nature's turns of events and I mean weather. I mean,
no, absolutely you are, but not in the sense of if I lose, I lose to someone else.
Yes, that's true.
So this is
right.
This is where I'm going with that. But as far as the competition in the outdoors is, it's definitely there. I understand what you're saying too.
I have a saying that you can challenge the wilderness to challenge you back, and sometimes I regret saying that, because sometimes the wilderness really brings it and really kicks my ass,
Yeah.
And then I'm laying there going, maybe not such a cool slogan, Maybe I should take that back.
Well, if it goes really bad, Mother Nature's not, she doesn't have much mercy, does she?
No, she does not. And I think in the Yukon, I mean, you could attest to way more than I get in Colorado, in my opinion. I mean, there might be some similarities, but I don't know. I look at some of the terrain and some of the places you're going and some of what you even do for a day hike, and it's just like, that's just your normal. Some of these places where you're going and the altitudes and the glaciers and some of the things you're on, and it's just your normal.
That's just kind of what we do.
Right. It's pretty epic.
But it's also in our backyard.
Right.
Right. So it's when I literally walk out the front door, and in 2 kilometers I can be kayaking on the lake,
mm-hmm.
or in 50 meters I can be running up a mountain.
Right.
So
I think that I don't know why people don't want to live in places like that more. You know, I mean, even where I'm at in Durango, Colorado, it's like same thing. I can, 25 minutes one way, I can be at 12,000 feet, and 25 miles the other way, I can be on warm water skiing, or, baking at 100 degrees if I want. So there's a certain aspect to putting yourself in a place that rewards you, right? And not everybody does that, and that's kind of something else about our podcast. We just really like to encourage people to make the step, right, and get out and disconnect. And Mother Nature has its place for you, right? I mean,
it sure does.
When did you realize that you couldn't live without the wilderness?
Yeah, it was after university, really. I had between college and university, I had a bit of time, and I moved. I went out west to work for a summer. And once I got out west and into the mountains, I knew that, there was no turning back. So I went back and I finished up university, and then my wife and I, we packed up her Sundance with the canoes and the kayaks and our whole life in them, and we headed out west. Originally, we told our parents we were only going to Alberta, to Banff, and then once we got out there, we kind of said, "Oh, we're just going to keep heading a little bit north here. We're going to go to the Yukon." So, and a little bit north is 24 hours of driving.
Right. Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
That's like driving, all the way from Colorado to the Atlantic Ocean. Well, if you're speeding like me, I can do it in about 22, 24. Yeah. But, it's a vast country up there. I mean, I'm sure you've been in places where no other man has stood, possibly. I can only imagine.
Yeah, there's, I don't know, it's probably, I believe that the Yukon is similar to the size of maybe Texas, or I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's a big territory, and we have 35,000 people. So that's it.
Wow.
There was
go a lot of places and never see anybody.
Oh no, I can tell you, I can count on one hand the amount of people that I see during hunting season when I'm out hunting. Well,
and is that lack of tags issued, or is that just lack of people and involvement?
It's lack of people.
Wow.
And where I go, typically people aren't.
Most people aren't
going.
Yeah. They're like,
so,
you going up there? No, not me.
But I mean, we just have such a vast, amazing country that I can get 10 tags over the counter and just go.
Even talking about the lack of people, or even the idea of that most people won't go where you go. I'd read a little quote off of your page, your .com page, and it was facing one's fears and wilderness, or the rewards and dangers of facing one's fears and wilderness is what you do, and it's something that you embrace and that you're trying to show through Yukon Wild, right? And talk to me about that. I mean, that's hard for people to put their mind around, I think.
Well, I think, I honestly believe that if you want it, it's there, and just go and get it. And the biggest limiting factor for why people don't is fear. Like the fear of failure, the fear of the cold. Like if we're talking specifically the wilderness, the fear of these things stop us and hold us back from achieving greatness. Mm-hmm. And I believe that if you allow that to take hold, then you're just not going to be able to reach your full potential.
Right.
And just sometimes it's just powering through those moments when you are afraid or it is hard. Those are the defining moments in people's lives.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, in the outdoors, like this would be an easy example is I love the sheep hunting, and sheep hunting is my wheelhouse. Sitting on a mountain in the rain, glassing. The easiest thing to do is pack up that tripod and your spotting scope and go back and sit in the tent.
Right.
You know,
But there's no sheep in your tent.
there's no sheep in the tent, but it's easy. And what are you afraid of? Well, I'm going to get cold, or I'm going to get, it's just simple things like that I believe that if you even if you start out slow and you just power through those kind of things, it just makes you a stronger person.
So what do you think it takes for someone to create that attitude? That where do you start? If listeners are struggling with where to start and trying to achieve the right attitude to not be afraid of themselves or the outdoors, and to embrace and be prepared for some of the dangers, right? Obviously, and get to the reward side of it. Where do they start?
They start by taking the first step. This it's just making the decision. It's just being open to what's possibly going to happen, and it's also being afraid of the unknown.
Yeah,
just turn your mind to looking at it. Okay, it is the unknown, and that's the great part about it.
Right.
Just turn that from being afraid of it to, guess what? I don't know what's going to happen today when I walk up that mountain, or look over that next ridge. But let's go. Let's just take that first step.
Right. Have you ever been somewhere and thought to yourself, "What am I doing here? I shouldn't be here"? Have you ever been there, scared, whatever?
Absolutely. In adventure racing, many times. We race all around the world, and you go to a country that, you've never been, and you get map and compass, maps of a race course whether it's China or, in these places that you just know nothing about. It's complete unknown.
Right.
You don't even know the course until 24 hours before the race starts. To get back to the question is that, have I been afraid? For sure. Like some paddling, some whitewater sections, in class 4+ whitewater on a bodyboard, going down these rivers, and you're with your other teammates, but you're not with your other teammates. It's no one's coming. It's up to you. And times like that, and you gotta go, what am I doing right now?
Right.
And you do things in that world, in the racing world, that maybe you wouldn't do under normal circumstances, or you find yourself on a ridge and it's knife edge and it's raining and the rocks are slippery and you're going, man, wish we had taken a different route.
Right. So when you get in that moment where you say that, what am I doing? How do you self-check yourself? I mean, how do you self-check and take that and turn that attitude right back to where it needs to be? Because if you don't stay present and you're letting your mind spin, you're going to roll this craft in the whitewater. You're going to lose your trophy in the water. I saw you kayaking, or I think down some water, and you had a camera maybe on your chest or mounted on the kayak or something, and you had your ram in the front there, and it was like, I look at some of that stuff, and I like to think I could mentally get myself to that place, and physically I could get myself to that place. But then I see some of that stuff that you've put on your website, and I'm like, holy shit, like that, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know. Right here, right now, looking at myself in the mirror right here today, I don't know if I can do it. So, but back to the original question, how do you mind check right there and get back to where you got to be?
When I find that, when you put yourself in situations that you cannot control, or that that could go out of control, those are when you find out who you are.
Right.
Those defining moments. And the thing for me is that I put myself in those positions of, I don't want to be dramatic, but of peril. Climbing vertical ice with no ropes and stuff. So I mean, so how do you check it? You can't not check it, because the option is that you don't come home.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's maybe it's fear. Maybe you check it because you're afraid.
And it deserves the respect of being checked at times too, does it not?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I think if you don't show the respect, even if it's in action or just in your mind. That's sometimes when it says, "Oh, you don't want to respect me. Well, let me show you. I'll get you to respect me."
Mother Nature.
Yeah, right now, like in a blink of an eye, right?
Yeah.
So,
but I think a lot of it too is for me, if I know what I'm, I know what I'm doing. If I feel, you feel confident because you've put in the hard miles for so many years, like so I just know that. Okay, I can climb that. I can do this. And if you don't have that groundwork behind you, it's certainly a little more difficult to maybe get to doing some of the stuff that I do. But you have to start.
But you
just got to start.
Yeah,
you got to take the step.
Yeah, I agree. I think all my listeners know that aspect that. You got to make a conscious decision, and you got to take that first step, and you got to take the time to build the foundation, right? I mean, even when I started, taking WA and getting back in the gym, I mean, it started with, doing squats with a PVC pipe, right? It wasn't what I envisioned in my mind, but luckily I had someone smarter than me to say, no, this is where we start.
Yeah.
But you're here. Thank you for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, great. Thumbs up. And then it was just, and then it's off from there. But you're right. I think, like you're talking about how the adventure racing has really lent itself more to your hunting than the other way. And and we all know it's a growing part of the hunting industry, right? That you can be a better hunter if you're more fit, right? You create more opportunity, do you not?
There's without a doubt that if you are fit, you will, and mentally and physically, if you're fit, that your hunting will, be unbelievably better.
Right.
Like I can't even put a number on, like a percentage how much it will go up. But I mean, if you don't quit and you're fit and you don't mind, you say, okay, I have the ability to hike that next mountain, hike to that next ridge. I'm going to go down that valley, hike 20 miles, and then I'm going to go up the next mountain. Like if you have that foundation, or you start to build that foundation, and maybe it's getting up to, to being able to run 2 kilometers.
Right.
It doesn't. It's just getting out, and that might be the difference between getting a deer or not.
That's right. Well, and I think in anything we're talking about here is it's not just applicable to hunting. This is life.
Yeah.
This is every day. You can be a better father. You can be a better husband. You can be a better service to your community. You can be, it all applies, right?
Absolutely.
That if you're more healthy in your body and your mind, it doesn't necessarily make you a better person than somebody, but it creates an option and for you to have more greatness, I think. I know people that could lose 50 pounds, but they still are amazing people, amazing friends, amazing husbands,
Absolutely.
Serve the community, teach baseball to the young kids. They're absolutely on, a positive influence to the world, right? But at the same time, I think that in the society we live in, especially in North America, it's important for people to take control of their life, physically, mentally, what they eat, all these things, because we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to our children and our grandchildren. That was one of the things when I started thinking about, getting myself back into shape is that I wanted to do it because I got myself in a bad place hunting one year, and I thought to myself, well, my mind still wants to go do all this stuff. I've got the grit and mentally, but this vessel that I'm trying to use is not going to do it.
Right.
And so then that's where I started. But in the same token, I've noticed how much difference it makes in everything in my life.
Yeah.
Everything.
Absolutely.
It complemented it all.
And for me, it's the well-roundedness is so important to me. It's the mental, the physical, all of these, the food, having all of these things where they should be, just give you so many more opportunities and opportunities by just your clarity in life. You put the right food into the body, and you just wake up.
Well, you were talking about that with Kevin a little bit earlier, and I kind of mingled into the conversation just a tad, and you were talking about the fact that, I mean, even with the amount of meat, organic, beautiful meat that you get to harvest every year, that you only put about 5% of red meat into your diet, approximately.
Yeah.
I mean, that, most people, most hunters, that's not the gig. I mean,
Yeah.
I bet they're 50% meat.
Yeah, it's I love hunting. I love my red meat, but I just limit it. And
Right.
my diet consists of whole food, plant based, the majority, and then some red meat. But that's just what I choose, and that's just what works really great for me.
Right.
I'm not saying that everybody should get onto that program. I'm saying that works really well for me, and I know what it does. It's just I'm a better person than I was 2 years ago when I didn't eat that way. I've always ate quite clean,
right?
But I've really cleaned up what I would say my program, and I am now a better father. I have more energy. I get up at 4:30 in the morning, and I go to bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and it's just get up and go. Get after it,
right.
And then go to bed because you're just rejuvenating for the next day. And that's kind of what this diet works for me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have a wife that is, very intelligent, far more intelligent than I am. And she keeps the family pretty tight.
Right.
And, our kids are the same way, and they eat the same way as. But
how old are your children, if I might ask?
Yeah, my daughter Yari, she'll be 3 in March, and Coulter, our son, he's 5.
See, and so in my household, we have not had a very good diet for a long time. I mean, I got children from 26 to 10, and now here me and my wife decided this year that we were going to start eating cleaner, and we're going to start changing what we consume. And so the pantry is slowly dwindling of sugar and cereal and Pop-Tarts. Just crap food, right?
Yeah.
And my kids that have been in this lifestyle for a long time are just like, whoa, what? We're doing what?
Yeah.
And it's going to be an interesting year to see how this transitions. But I'm super stoked that my wife is on board with this idea. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been in peaks and valleys in how I eat over the last 3 years since kind of regaining my health and taking my body back. There's times where I definitely slough off in the winter, and I'm like, it's time to bear up a little bit and flow with the season, and then come January, February, I'm like, not like a resolution thing, but I start seeing the warmth coming and stuff, and I'm like, okay, man, now it's time to dump some of this hibernation weight, so to speak, and get back going. But I'm tired of some of that ebb and flow, and I want to get to that point of where I'm just in a more consistent, rounded diet, right? And it's interesting.
It's not easy.
No, it's not.
This, our society does not make it easy to eat clean.
Yeah, and like you're here at the show, what are you going to eat for lunch today? Did you bring your own lunch?
No, I'll have a salad. I'll go out and I'll get a salad
because walking around the floor here, that's going to be hard. Right? I mean, like you're saying, society and what they're going to feed, what they're offering us here on the show floor or even in the hallway is not ideal.
Yeah. No, it's not. But the more people that demand it, because the more of us that demand it, because this is what we need to function at a high level and to be the best that we can be, it's going to have to come.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think it is. I think it's slowly coming, don't you think? I mean, you can see it more on menus and more on this, the lighter fare, and they're showing you calories, and they're giving you a little cleaner options, and it's slowly progressing, I believe. But.
Yeah, and it will get there, and I believe it'll get there because I think that we're at a point where, in Canada and the U.S., we could talk about nutrition all day, but Canada and the U.S., we are not a healthy society.
No.
And it doesn't take long to figure that out if you just start to walk around a little bit.
Oh, heck, just people watching in an airport.
Yeah.
And it's evident. At the mall, it don't matter. I mean, you can look at the statistics of, diabetes and how, I mean, just it's insane.
Yeah, which is
right?
completely controllable.
Yeah,
You know,
right, exactly.
It's completely controllable
It is
through diet.
in your control,
Yeah.
100%. And, and that's kind of like when me and Callie are thinking. It's like, you look, we got to start eating cleaner, and by gosh, we got to, our kids are going to have to make up their own minds when they have to start doing their own thing. But I think that if we can, when do you start? You just have to start. It's the same
take
thing
the
in our
first
house.
step.
We just had to do it. Had to break down and tell the kids this is how it's going down, and and they're not super happy about it. But at the same time, they're moldable to the point of where they'll follow.
Oh yeah,
They want to be led, right? Kids want it, regardless of whether they think they want discipline. They want discipline. They want guidance. They want nurturing. They want all that. And so, at any given time, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm proud of her for joining me in this quest. And what's crazy is we were going to start January and we were going to quit drinking. She barely drinks, so this isn't a high hurdle for her.
Yeah.
But for me, I really like to have a beer.
Yeah.
I can go out with the guys and have a couple beers, and I'm really happy about that.
Well, you gotta be well rounded.
Yeah, but either way, and she started her 28-day challenge January
Awesome.
1st,
Good
a
for her.
paleo-ish 28-day challenge.
Yeah.
And she has been rigid, and I have broke my commitment to her many times here this
Come
month.
on.
And I am failing as a leader right now, Greg. So
Well, clearly you're not the leader.
she did hear it, did she? No, she was talking to Kate. That's good. No, so... But the struggle's real is my point, right?
Yeah, no, it is.
know.
It's not easy, and whether it's the outdoors and pushing yourself out there, or just starting and trying to eat better, it's not easy. But the easy route is, where is that going to get you?
Mm-hmm.
Where does the easy route ever get you in life?
Right. Nowhere really.
It gets you nowhere.
It's a
It
lateral
gets you
move.
like
It's
where
always a
everybody
lateral
else
move.
is.
Yeah, it's
right?
always a lateral move, right? It's never forward.
Yeah.
I don't think. You could even digress, really. And that's kind of the things too. And I mean, here's a prime example. I mean, I know when I'm hitting a circuit workout and I'm hitting that box, I'm hitting the sandbag, and I'm hitting all that stuff. That is the place where it says, "Remember them beers? Remember that Pop-Tart you ate the other night at 9:30 at night?"
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I can replay all of my mistakes when I'm getting my ass handed to me by that box and bag,
That's
right?
awesome.
And I'm just like, this is why you don't do that, Brandon. This is why you don't.
Yeah.
Because you're paying for it now. You know it. You're thinking about it. You're so mentally in the past of all the stuff that you cheated on right here, right now, when you should be focused on you should be focused on what you're doing and how well you're doing this. And I think that's the reminder.
Sometimes I think that it's good to get that little kick and that reminder to put you back into your place and the more times that happens, the more your lifestyle will change, because you don't want that to happen anymore.
That's right.
Like you want to be in the moment. Like you want to be working on getting better versus thinking about the things that you did wrong.
Right.
So as long as and the more that you do things right, the less you have to worry about that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for embracing some struggle and some grit. But it didn't have to be a total suckfest, right? I made it a suckfest because of my choices.
Right.
So I just think that's a good example for what I do. But now I think I have the answer to this question through a quote that I read on your website. But why do you hunt?
I hunt because really there's no other way that I feel the connection to the outdoors than the way I feel it when I'm hunting. And the people that I'm hunting with. Mm-hmm. It's just such it's a spiritual moment for me to be in the mountains, spending time with my best buddies, doing what we do. And it started as a kid, and it started those moments with my father, and just having these special times, pushing yourself and, finding out who you are,
right.
What you're made of.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're doing that with the people that you want to do it with, and that the fellas that are your core, and yeah, it's special. And, one of the things is, one of the most, special things that I've ever done was in the hunting world was a couple years ago. My father, he's 70 years old, and he came on his first sheep hunt. And so I took him out on his first sheep hunt because he's just moved to the Yukon a few years ago, and he did his work, and he did his hiking, and got up and
built his foundation.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily where he came from, but so I saw him work at it, and we went out and he harvested himself a doll sheep, a 10-year-old beautiful ram, and it was just, for me, it was just one of those most special moments that I've ever had.
Right.
Hunting.
It's almost like a full circle moment, but maybe we should call it a full curl moment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I see. I thank you for sharing that. I mean, I can see your emotion in remembering and reliving that moment. And, hunting is a spiritual journey that takes you from the Creator all the way down through your hands and through your plate and to your children, and it just keeps, it's this, you call it a manly thing, you can call it a leadership thing, you can call it a spiritual thing. I mean, it's all those things, right? And when you can feel that for yourself, for me, that's what chokes me up, sitting there holding an animal that I took its life, and taking the time, like I say, I saw on your website also, and you should use this hashtag I started. It's hashtag I am my own butcher. I take pride in that because, from the minute I pull my release to the time it goes through my kitchen and gets on my plate, I've had my hands on that a lot.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm very proud of that. And, I wasn't raised to be a hunter by my father. He took me fishing and took me camping and taught me a lot about the outdoors, got me into Boy Scouts, and so that took me, miles and miles into the backcountry, right, and learned a lot of cool stuff.
Fantastic.
But in the end, it was just some friends around me that kind of brought me into it. And, man, I can't even – so for me, I just watching you tell that story and seeing that in your eyes is I'll never get to experience that. My father has no intentions of that. But my daughter harvested her first buck, and I'll show you the video when we're done, but she harvested her first buck, and when we walked up to that thing and she found it, I just kind of stood there and I just grabbed my phone and started videotaping, and she literally knelt down over that deer and just started praying and thanking it. She's to the point she's like, I'm in college and you're going to help feed me and you're going to do all these things, right?
That's
amazing. I can cry right now too because it was, and she touched every part of that deer, every part of it, just caressed it, touched it, took it all in, right?
Yeah.
And
you have experienced it.
Those moments are amazing, aren't they?
You have experienced that.
Yeah.
And those are the moments that that no matter what happens in your life, nobody can take away.
Right. That's right.
That's why we do it.
I wouldn't have those moments. You think about everything we've talked about in this podcast. I wouldn't have had that moment had I not got my health back and my life back and got mental clarity and got back into thinking and realizing what's important in life.
Yep.
Those the relationships, the moments, the adventures, the stories, right? Because they're yours for forever.
Yep.
Only to be shared like this, right?
Exactly.
And it's awesome, isn't it?
This is awesome because it's times like, you ask the questions, and sometimes you don't really the life gets so busy, and it's so fast, and you're being hit in so many angles by the all of this bombardment of just noise that, it's great to sit down sometimes and really think about those kind of questions, and think about the things that really mean the most in your life.
Right.
And then you have to think about, how can I make more of those moments?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what it's all about. It's making more of the most special moments in your life that you can.
Right.
Because we only have one.
That's right.
And if you don't treat the body, the mind, the soul, all of these things right, then you're just not going to have as many of those moments.
That's a fact. I mean, even you saying all that, I'm thinking to myself, even people that don't go as deep in the wilderness like we do, but even taking your kid to the park and flying a kite, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's so simple to take the outdoors, and I just don't think there's any better place to build memories, hands down, other than around. I'd say the only thing that beats the outdoors and wilderness for me is my dinner table in my house.
Yeah.
When me, my wife, and all my kids, and I have a lot of children, are all at the dinner table, and we're having a family discussion about whatever, it doesn't matter. There's times where I just look around and I'm just like, holy cow! This is a blessing, right?
Awesome.
This is a blessing, and but otherwise,
I gotta relay a story that just happened last week. Just talking about building those moments and the family, and one of my teammates, Dave, I was working all day, and he had the day off, and anyways, he come over and he plowed up a bunch of snow, and him and my son went out and dug this snow cave, right? A Quincy we built, right? Mm-hmm. So the next day, my son says, hey, Dad, are we going to sleep in that? And it's minus 20 or whatever, right?
Or whatever.
And I was like, yeah, we can go. And I said, but I can't do it tonight. I'm busy. I got stuff going on. Actually, I had a date with his mom. So I mean, that was important. That was important. Mm-hmm. So I didn't just drop him for not a good reason, but
date night trumps all in my house.
Date night is very important. And then I thought, okay, I was just leaving for the sheep show, and I hadn't had all my stuff packed, and I thought, okay, well maybe he won't, maybe we'll see how it goes tomorrow, right?
Forget about it or whatever.
And I come the next day. I come back into the house in the evening, and he's got his sleeping bag, and he's got everything packed. He's ready to go. We're going hunting type thing. He's packed at the door. He's 5 years old. He's ready to go. And it's like, all right, buddy, let's do this. And I think so. My wife and I are talking. Well, maybe we'll be out there for a couple hours, maybe, and then we'll be back in by 10:30 tonight. Yeah. So we have all of his stuff, and he's got his little stuffed animals, and we've got the sleeping bags out there, and we're sitting we have a candle lantern in the Quincy, and there's snow all around us, and it's minus whatever it is, and we're reading books, and then he says, okay, Dad, let's go to sleep now. So fine. So I figured we're gonna maybe an hour here, and we'll be back in the house. Yep. 6 a.m. I have to wake him up and say, okay, buddy, we got to go to the house now. So he toughed it out. He slept all night. He woke up, and I said, well, how was it? Like, were you cold? And he goes, yeah, I was pretty cold, but it was okay.
That's awesome. Right?
And that's just one of those moments for me that, you don't expect. I didn't expect my son to tough it out or to stay out all night long. But I mean, it was great. It was just one of those moments, a special moment with a 5-year-old that unless you take the time and go and do it, you'll never experience them.
Well, and you'll never fully grasp who he is, even at 5.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you got to imagine that he's probably heard you say that, in a conversation with your mom maybe or something. I mean, right? I mean, they're mirror images of us. So I'm sure there was a time where you said, yeah, I was a little cold. So that's all right, right? I mean, I'm sure you've said that before.
There's no doubt.
You know, and he's like, you know, they do and say everything we do, man. They watch you like a hawk, and it's not always easy being a perfect leader or a perfect dad or whatever. I mean, we all have failures and we all have these moments, right? But
absolutely.
But when you get to appreciate that moment, man, I mean, tell me where that puts you. Tell me where that put you in the world.
Yeah, well,
on top.
Just like as you feel as a parent, like I felt at that moment that I've done something right. Like
exactly.
This lad someday is going to destroy me in the mountains because of what I'm doing right now. But I hope that
creating a monster.
Yes, and it's going to be the best monster that I'm going to love every minute of it.
You will.
Suffering behind him.
You know what? And when you're back there suffering, you'll have the biggest smile on your face as you're watching him lose you going up that razor ridge, right?
Yeah.
Or when he turns around and says to you, you know, can I help you out?
Yeah.
Okay, you want me to take 10 pounds of yours, Dad?
Yeah.
Right? And you'd be like, yeah, yes, please.
Well, or I'll probably say no way and suffer more, and he'll laugh at me and then just end up stealing it from me anyways, right?
As fathers, we do tend to let our pride get in the way sometimes, don't we? But I think that you don't seem like that kind of guy. I think that you might have to take that gut check twice before you realize that, you know what? It's probably a good idea you take 10.
Yeah, I'll give it up. There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
So what's the wilderness mean to you? I mean, the wilderness is, the percentage of the wilderness in your life and the outdoors and what you do is a pretty high percentage. So, I mean, what does it mean to you? Well,
it defines, almost who I am. I've sought it since I was a child, and the wilderness is it's really just where I feel the most comfortable in the world. Like being here, like I enjoy this. Don't get me wrong. It's kind of like a circus for me.
Right.
Right. Like you go to the circus and it's just not necessarily the real world. Although it is the real world, but I'm just so far removed from it that I come down and I get this is kind of entertaining.
Yeah, I mean,
but
10% of your total population is in this building right now.
Right. So I'm just so far removed from this and the wilderness is. I've just made that happen because that's just where I feel right in the world.
Uh-huh.
When I can walk, look out my front door and there's some of the most beautiful mountains in the world. I just know I'm in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have, an amazing family and you're doing it together and you're doing it you're living, with the people that you want to be surrounded with. It just feels right.
Yeah. I mean, your comfort level in some of those places is definitely not most people's comfort level, but we all have that place. And wherever that place is in the wilderness is awesome. For whoever, right? It's just
even if even if you live in the city and you have an opportunity to get out to that park and just watch a bird,
mm-hmm.
As simple as that sounds, just go out and just really look at a tree,
right,
and look at the life and this, touch the bark.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just
textures, right? Are
like
amazing.
It's out there.
Yeah,
it's out there. Just go and experience it. No matter how limited you are to it, it's rewarding. And I think that if you get a few moments of that in your life, just to experience the wilderness and the outdoors, I think it makes you a better person.
Yeah, and find some like-minded people, right? Find some like-minded people that like to do what you do because it's empowering and it's great and it's supportive. Sometimes that's the first step for some people, right? I mean, tell us about your team with Yukon Wild. I mean, it starts from your wife. It's hard, I mean, you have a great team, don't you?
Well, I've played team sports my whole life, and that's kind of just where I feel comfortable. I've done obviously a lot of solo races and stuff like that, but my comfort level is just spending time in great places with great people, and my wife and I adventure raced together for our whole career, so I've always kind of built those teams, or had been part of those teams of like-minded people, looking for, goal-oriented, moving forward together.
Right.
And that's what the Yukon Wild is our team. I've got two of the, my best friends, and they're just tremendous athletes. They're tremendous men. I spend time with men every day in the mountains.
Right.
And there is no stop button, because once we start, it is not going to end until it ends in what we want.
Right.
Now,
that's some drive right there.
There's the team. I can't even say enough about these two guys that Carl and Dave that I spend my time with, and we complement each other in so many ways. There is nobody that is weak in the mountains, and what we have is Carl. He's this very analytical, very calculated, methodical type personality. Dave, he's very quiet. He's tremendous at what he does with the camera.
Right.
And I'm just kind of there. So
you're just kind of there. Well, I think it takes, in a team, there's dynamics that have to come together, right? And you're all three individuals, but together as a team, you guys are doing amazing things. You're going to amazing places, and you're achieving amazing results. But I don't want to overlook part of your team, and that's your canine athletes, right? I mean, you've got a pack of amazing dogs that do amazing things for you.
Well, we part of our one of our other businesses, we have we have a dog team. We own a Caribou Crossing trading post and we have dog cart rides in the summer. Our business caters to the cruise traffic coming into Alaska, and so at kind of high peak summer, we've got 120 to 130 racing dogs.
Wow!
So the beautiful thing about this is, and we work with a couple that are just tremendous people as well, and so in the wintertime the dogs go back to their place, and Magnus is his name, and he actually is going to do the Iditarod this year. So cool. These dogs are not just the Chihuahua sitting on your couch.
Exactly.
These dogs are athletes.
They are, absolutely.
They are athletes at the highest level.
Right.
And last year we went on a bison hunt, and we took the dogs. So we had 2 dog teams, and we went out bison hunting by dog sled. Mm-hmm. And it was just an amazing experience to be with the dogs and watch them work, right. and work with them. Because they have to trust you when you're driving them. They have to trust you that, you're going to direct them in the right place and not,
off a cliff.
Yeah. Or
because they're going to do what you ask them to do once you've earned their respect.
That's right. Right. And that's not you can't take that lightly.
What does that take to do and accomplish with these?
Well, I mean, these dogs, they're athletes, and they just want to go. So
they're hyper.
Yeah. They want to go, and you put one of these dogs in your living room for the most part, and you may not have a living room left. Okay, so but yeah, they're just high level athletes, and they want to please. They want to move, and it was a great experience, like just out there hunting, like 100 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Just by dog team.
It's so cool. I really want to interview some people that, you know, that's their life. You know, that's how they go get their groceries. That's how they go. You know, that's without them, they're a vital part to their whole being. I think it would be a really cool conversation, really deep and fun.
Yeah.
But I saw that on your website, and I was like, that's cool, man. That's super cool.
Yeah, no, that was a great hunt.
And it ended well?
Yeah, it did.
Excellent.
Yeah, it did.
That's cool. Yeah. So, one more question for you. Where's your favorite spot in the wilderness? Your favorite spot, that one spot that stands above all other places. And when you tell me it, describe it to me. Take me there. Take me there. I want to smell it. I want to see it. I want to feel it.
Probably my favorite spot is that climb up to a ridge. After, you know, you got out of bed at 4:30 on a sheep hunt. You've got out of bed at 4:30 in the morning. You rolled out of your tent, and you're racing the daylight. You know, you're racing the sunshine. And, you know, getting up to the top of the mountain or, you know, a ridge line, because you know the day's just going to break and you're going to be, and the sky's blue, and you're just going to be able to see, you know, this amazing country. So I love, you know, racing that sunshine to the top of the mountain or to the top of that ridge. And then when I get there, just sitting down and taking those few moments before you really start hammering the day, and watch that sun just fully come up over the mountaintops and just feel it. And then turn the sights on to what do you got to get done.
Yeah, time to work. Yeah, there's that brief moment, right, where the calm before the storm, if you will, that is the most serene, peaceful moment that you're going to have all day. That's it. And it might be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 tops, but it's there.
Yeah.
But if you don't position yourself to be in that spot, to be ready for that, and I think sometimes be sitting still, slow enough to embrace it, paying attention in that moment, right? Because a lot of people
being in the moment,
by that,
being in the moment, and that's, you know, it's so important in life. Is that, you know, I really struggle with this because, you know, my attention is just and it's something that I have to really be conscious of, is being in the moment right now. You know, whether it's sitting in that Quincy with my son and just basking in this moment, or if it's sitting at the breakfast table talking to my wife, you know, just talking about our day, and just be present. Just give the people that you love the attention they deserve. Just being there. And when you do that and you take those moments, and it is hard. It is hard in our society today to take those moments and make those moments happen. But when you do, like, it's rewarding. And you're giving the attention to the people that you know, they deserve it.
Right. Greg, thank you so much for sitting down and giving me your undivided attention. It's really a pleasure to get to know you and get to hear your stories and feel your passion and your genuineness of what you love and what you do, and it comes through in volumes in your voice.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been great.
You want to shout out to anybody?
I just want to say, you know, say hi to, you know, my wife and my kids back home and the team. You know, I'm just kind of here, you know, trying to do the best that I can do for them. So,
exactly. Hey, congratulations on your backpack race win.
Yeah, thanks.
It's how many years in a row is that?
Well, it's the second.
Officially 2.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to go watch you, but it wasn't going to happen. I couldn't be everywhere at the same time. But maybe next year I got to come.
Don't say maybe.
Just
do it.
What I was going to say is not maybe watch it, but come do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, come do it.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan to me.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to it. Okay?
All right,
All
let's
right.
make a plan.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hey, like always, we can't do this without your reviews and without you letting us know how we're doing. So please go to iTunes or whatever platform you're on, or you can even hit our website, wildernessattitude.com. Thanks for listening.